I got severely bullied when I was younger. So I think that very much shaped the way I perceived myself and in society. And that's kind of what mental health is really, is about how you view yourself, how you feel others view you, and then how you feel that you are within the world, like what's your place in the world. And if you're constantly being criticized for who you think you are, and you're just developing, when you're 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, you're just learning and growing about who you are. That's your formative years.
So just before you move, were you bullied about for being black, for being African? What was you bullied about, or was it just in general just being bullied?
Oh no, I was bullied by black people. I wasn't bullied.
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't bullied. No, it weren't racial. Majority of the things that I experienced, if any racial element, was more colorism than anything else, being dark skinned. But
so was the bullying about, like, was it just like
it was about how I was, who I was.
Oh, just like they just you don't fit in terms of
I didn't fit in
the stereotypical bullying, like Dennis.
It wasn't a no for nothing racial or anything like that. So my primary school was a bit of an interesting one because it was like a smaller primary school. So my class, it was literally like 23 boys and 7 girls. That
was my year in school, you know. I had one there, it was so dead.
Yeah, that's how it was.
Everyone was competing for the same girls. They were having the time of their life.
In primary school?
Yeah, I went to a primary school, there was 22 boys.
But you man were trying to move to Yale in primary school?
Yeah, well, I'm getting.
Yeah, but you just take kiss shades.
Kiss shades and that. Everyone, there's 22 men chasing 6 girls, bro.
Oh my god, that is crazy. Because my first primary school for the first year was the massive schools where you've got like 6 year 1s and 6 year 2s. But my primary school just down the road was like a very small primary school. So I was one of 2 girls that were not in the popular crew, but the popular crew was everybody else really. And then everybody else fleeted. It was so funny because when I really think about it, a lot of my friends when I was younger, they couldn't wait to get into the popular crew, boy. They'll be chilling with us, and then once they let's say come through, they'll be so happy to drop us. But I was bullied for many different things, and I think it was really difficult because my mum, because people ask the question all the time, like, what about your mum? When my mum got involved, she made matters worse without knowing it. She would come to the school, confront the teachers, and then what happened was the teachers would then leave me unprotected.
Because they're harbouring their own feelings because they...
my mum would like, I think she like blasted, not only she fought some teachers, boy, she went mad on teachers, which I get in her mind was like, how dare you allow this to happen to my kid? But not knowing that a lot of these teachers, now when you think about it, they were young, they were like in their early 20s, so they just held grudges and they never protected me. And so I learned quickly, you don't say nothing to anybody because what are people going to do? You know, all they do is like, don't do that, Tommy, that's it. And then...
What would you have had your mum do differently in hindsight? Or thinking from an older mind? Because I think it's easy to make that, but I'm thinking, what would I have done as a parent in that same instance? Because you're fueled by emotion. My daughter's getting bullied.
Yeah.
I need to do something about this. And she needs to make you feel like she's doing something about it. So how differently would you approach that? Or how would you approach that if your kids are in the same situation?
A very, really good conversation. The thing is, the level of free will that my mum had, I would have, but I would have to tunnel it in a different way because I understand being bullied and because I understand what it is, what kids do and how kids can get away with things that teachers can't even see. They can hit you around the corner, you can come to class all smiling and teacher doesn't even know that you just got bullied. We've all seen that. So it would be having a conversation with the head and be like, what are you doing? What is the policy? What is going on? Who are the parents? Because something is going on in that home that a child is coming out of their house to repeatedly bully somebody. For what reason? I'm not talking about just like words. I used to got physical bully, like my hands getting pulled behind their back, all of this stuff. For a child to be doing that, they must be going through something.
And it was black kids, white kids, girls, boys, everybody.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was like everybody, but it was... but I was one of very few that were picked on. So, it wasn't like what you see on TV where a group of kids will come and then crowd around you.
Yeah.
It could be just a few kids, but they'll physically just torment me.
Yeah, you know the thing about it as well is like, you know, sometimes when you're younger, like when I look at certain aspects of like where I was a bully, but it was a thing of like, what you're describing is you're going on there into someone and mashing them up. Where we were, it was just like, because everyone used to say rob each other. So while you try to rob someone the next day, someone try to rob you the next day. But then obviously, because you're just going around being a shit, trying to rob people, eventually when you meet that one kid who you're robbing every day and he's not doing anything back, you're not realising, rather than them being a partaker in what everyone's partaking in, you're now bullying that one person.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Like you're just finding one person to just bully, etc., etc. So I think that, and then obviously I had some abuse that occurred as well. So I think that, and potentially not aware of my father not being around. I didn't really have a conscious understanding that my father abandoned me at that age. So it was only when I got older that I realised that, but probably that did have an effect. So all of that, I think, really contributed into just being depressed. But because...
Well, from young, would you say you were depressed?
Oh, yeah, from young. But it's... and also, I have undiagnosed ADHD, so that made sense as well. Like, I just, it was ADHD. But again, it's not seen, it's not understood in black kids. Now it's like a lot of kids are just getting labelled ADHD, but back in the day in the 90s, we weren't getting labelled. We were just told we were bad breed or we were odd or something was just round off. So even to the point where I was on the special needs table, I have no special needs, but I didn't peak at that age, and partly because I was being bullied. I wasn't going to concentrate in school.